Hello, my name is Ibrahim Khalil, and I am doing the productive and counterproductive behaviors in the workplace assignment for the industrial organizational psychology midterm. For the first question on the course research in organizational psychology and recent historical events, how that affected the research in organizational psychology, I want to reference the Jex and Britt text on organizational psych, specifically the section where they talk about the three principles of scientific management. So two of the principles I feel are extremely important, and what they state is that people work harder if they are given that financial incentive. So that financial incentive is a very strong piece to that productivity in the workplace. Another principle that I feel is strong is that any chance the field gets to establish empirical studies for any issues that they find at work, then that should be done. They should establish those empirical studies. Those two are extremely strong and really benefit the field. However, the third principle I feel has created this effect in the history of organizational psych. So specifically, the third principle states that there should be a separation between people who are doing the work and people who are researching the work. And I feel that this separation can really create a divide. And the people who are the researchers who are creating and finding these findings have a disconnect with the workers who are doing the work-related tasks, and that's where I could see where these issues can arise. As an example, one study was done by the practitioners Zakar and Leong. The researchers found that personalities of scientists and the personality of practitioners are different, and they're almost opposites, like polar opposites. So when we're studying their personalities with these differences, issues in communication, agreement, trust between these practitioners and scientists have an effect, a negative effect. So it's really important that with that third principle, we focus on creating that connection and understanding the personality difference between practitioners and scientists. The chapter 3 question asked to discuss the socialization process for grad students at Liberty. And what I'm going to be using is the Feldman's model of stages of organizational socialization. So the first stage is that anticipatory socialization before they are part of the organization. So what I've found in that process is that Liberty ensured that their website had all the necessary material for each person, for each major, whatever you decide to move into, which classes that you need, and try to minimize the questions needed directly to a person. They also had a chat function in the website in case, phone calls aren't available or anything like that, email opportunities. So that's one part of the anticipatory socialization. Another part is they ensure that potential graduates have all the information and financial information. So those questions always come up. How much do I have to pay? How am I going to pay it? What assistance can I get? And all that is listed on the website. So that adds to that socialization process for the person in that anticipatory stage. Another part of that stage is there's constant contact from Liberty. There's always phone call. There's always a way of being reached out to the students so that we could feel that maybe a question has came up or or that there is a deadline that I need to make to be able to start my classes. And they also share how that the masters can help them in their careers. And I think that's a big part of that socialization to retain people in an organization is how it can help them personally. The next stage in that model is the encounter stage. So this is when the person is in the program. They have been accepted into Liberty and they will be starting soon. This is where, signing up for classes, ensuring that your financial forms are all getting done. This is more contact from the university and communication. And this also occurs, the encounter stage occurs when you start a class. This start can really, the professor sends emails and communication before the class started, so you know how to get that, everything in order. The flexibility also helps with the encounter stage. It allows a person to feel that the school is flexible. I could take classes at different times. I can balance my life, my work, my school. I have an 8-week course. I have a longer course. I have different timings. They start throughout the year. And for me, being part of the distance learning, I did feel a disconnect from the university. Sometimes it felt like I'm just taking a class, not part of a school, where I feel I'm in constant communication, understand what's going on, feeling the benefits. That's one disconnect I felt at Liberty. The next stage for Feldman's model is the change in acquisition. This phase occurs when I began my first course and felt part of the university. Here is where all the grad students are focusing on schoolwork and ensuring the work is being completed. They feel they're part of the school. They have begun. They're in the middle of their classes. They're all part of it. And I think Liberty was successful at socializing, understanding when the classes start, how to get started in the class, how to get moving towards your goal, and paying for it, how that help you can get. I just wanted to feel more of that school, feeling and closer with the classmates, things like that. Chapter 4 question is, how can an organization reduce or prevent work-family conflict? And I believe that this starts from a policies and benefits stage, in that organization, the foundations of all the rules, regulations, and benefits for employees, policies. So if the policies are in place that can ensure that a organization is allowing for their staff to have work and family balanced, that could be a step in the right direction. So things like, flexible time, understanding that each employee has different lives at home, and that a flexible time to be able to do work, but also if there is a, child who needs some care or needs to be taken somewhere, a sick family member or something, we are able to handle that, giving the same benefits to a person who doesn't have any children or have that part of their life, and having that be the same as someone who does might create that conflict inside of a workplace. So focusing on that is extremely important. Implementing telework, if employees feel that they will, work in the office where they could sometimes do their jobs at home, especially if the commute is rigorous, it can really create some bitterness, some negativity in their employees. So seeing that the organization cares and says, hey, some of these days you're able to telework for the convenience to be able to handle that work life can be beneficial. Things like adding a mental health day, the organization possibly having a daycare within the organization, things like that. All these things can attract better talent, and it has higher job satisfaction, so the people working are happier and we're getting better people. So those are great. And I think the last part that's extremely important is making sure that the supervisors are on board. We ensure that they understand and agree with the policies and benefits. We don't want a disconnect of the recruitment, what they say and preach as benefits and policies as to flexibility in life and work, be different than what the supervisor's expectations are. That can create distrust, bitterness, all those things. So I think that is a great way for an organization to reduce or prevent work-family conflict. The Chapter 5 question is really regarding the development of a performance assessment program for employees. And what is that technique? What is the best way that we can get measure how performance is, how it's doing at an organization and how our employees are doing and things like that. To go off of Murphy's list, we want to measure task-oriented behavior first. So we want to see if the employees at the organization or the people in the organization know their tasks and know how well they can do that. So, let's say the university, we want to be able to see if the students who are taking these classes, are they prepared for them? Are they able to know and understand the material? Do they need a course before? Do they need a prerequisite in order for them to handle this workload? So we're going to measure task-oriented behaviors, and we know what needs to be done and how to do it. Do the staff or the employees or the people in the organization know what needs to be done and know how to do it? Next is interpersonal oriented behaviors. Are they connecting with people in the organization? Are they able to, if they have a manager or supervisor, are they able to communicate with that person? Do they have that good relationship or not? And measuring that, we can see what we can do in the future from there. Also, the downtime behaviors, so behavior outside of work. Is that anything that's affecting the work here? Is there work-life balance off, like we spoke before? Is there anything the policies or benefits can do to help with that work-life balance? Is extremely important. And then we have to be careful with that destructive and hazardous behavior. We really have to see what are we, the organization, doing to make sure that a person has control? Because if they do not have control of the situation, if they don't have control of these things, these constraints, there can really be issues. So ways to do this, to measure this, paper pencil tests and job skills tests, I think are so important. Having the employees come in and fill out these paper pencil tests to really measure where they are at and see if their job skills are matching their job. And we need the managers to do this too and to see if the people in the organization are all on board and living up to their job task. One thing to always remember is that the assessment doesn't always mean job performance. So there always has to be that understanding. The last question for the assignment, Chapter 6, what are some possible common organizational constraints and how can they lead to counterproductive behavior? First thing I think about when I hear this question is the rules, regulations. Are some of them unnecessary? As referenced in the previous question, being in the office at all times, 9 to 5, typically sometimes, we're talking about that type of organization. When sometimes the job can be done at home, maybe, this can lead to burnout. And this can be, this can lead to, without any control, it can lead to employees doing things like lying. Maybe lying about being sick. Maybe they might have a lot of frustration, low motivation that can affect the performance negatively. So really, seeing if our rules and regulations of an organization is it satisfying? Is there anything we can tweak, give control to some of the employees to give them, have that better experience of the organization? Required support. Are some employees, do they need support in the office or in the organization and not receiving it? For example, at a university, if a person is not receiving the support they need to succeed in the class, if they've gone to other, benefits or things that are provided by the university and not felt that they are getting their help, it can really cause them, to cheat, to lie, things like this. It can cause them to drop out, can really affect. So that required support needs to be seen. And another one is task preparation. If the staff feel that they do not have enough time, for example, to do a task, can they feel burnt out? They could have low motivation. If they feel that the managers up top just want the job done in their time frame, not understanding how it's affecting the employees, this can lead to a lot of those negative aspects as well. And they can all lead to a person lashing out at the organization. Like I said, they don't have control. So stealing could be something. It could cause them to not manage those impulses. So this can lead to perhaps a person having those destructive behaviors outside of work as well. So this can encompass a lot of things in the person's life.